Hello, I'm Austin Peters and I'm student 1.
My name is Tristan and I'm student 2.
My name is Gauthier and I'm student 3, and this is the issues of power generation.
So the main issue with power generation is the pollution it creates. The pollution destroys the environment, so yeah, it's bad stuff. With the generation of power comes the toxic gases, which include SO2, NOx, and H2SO4. Because there was so much pollution, we had to look for other ways to produce power to generate it and more efficiently and environmentally friendly. So engineers began looking for ways to generate power without burning fossil fuels. This led to hydroelectric, wind generators, solar energy, tidal power, and geothermal sources. Electricity is generated by the movement of a wire made of copper between the poles of a magnet. The first power plants were run on water power and coal. The first hydroelectric power plant was built at Niagara Falls in 1897. Thomas Edison built the first central power station in New York in 1882, which launched the modern-day electrical distribution system. Edison developed the Jumbo Dynama, a 27-ton machine that produced 100 kilowatts, enough to power 1,200 lights. Nuclear generation was developed in 1954 in Russia. Natural gas generation followed in 1939 and 1940 at a plant in Switzerland. Now mainly coal, nuclear, gas, natural gas, hydroelectric, wind generators, and petroleum are used to generate power. They make up most of our power generation, however, they aren't as pollution friendly as the following ways. Commercial concentrated solar power plants were first developed in the 1980s. Now, in the grand scheme of things, they do not produce much of the world's power. Now, small amounts of our power generations come from tidal power as well as geothermal sources. Also, electric and gas generators are used as backup. Some of the ethical issues are just the pollution again from all the different types of generation and the use of fossil fuels, but also the cost of power, making it efficient and cheap enough for people to afford it.
So in the past, historical methods had to be put in place to resolve the issue of the pollution caused by power generation, which includes nuclear and coal plants. And the issues they resolved in was in 1942, a 125 megawatt wind turbine was used to feed the electric power in a local utility in Vermont. And in the 1950s, an electric turbine persisted in Denmark but was sidelined due to cheap oil and low energy prices. And that's the problem everything's having today, is the cost and issues of all these renewable sources of energy. From 1974 to 1980, the U.S. government worked with the industry to advance technology and the development of wind turbines. And in 1982, the U.S. Department of Energy began operating Solar One, which was the first project using solar energy and was used to power generation. In 1986, the world's largest solar thermal facility was built. And also pollution control has been put in place. Some types of pollution control is put in place for coal, nuclear, and hydropower, and some methods are flue-gas combination modification, which consists of modifying the oxygen content and the temperature combustion, and can reduce the concentration of volatile organic compounds and partially oxidized nitrogen compounds. Another thing is electrostatic precipitators, which is solid or liquid particles supported in the influent gas stream and can pick up a charge and be trapped in an electrically charged filtering system. The third way is a flue gas deacidifier, which is a nitric and sulfuric acids are formed in a fossil fuel combustion. These can be removed with the wet scrubbers or by reaction with solid basic oxides. Some current solutions to power generation is the discovery of solar wind energy, and it produces no pollution. Currently, 80% of Canada's electricity pollution production emits no air pollution, and with the shutdown of coal plants, 90% will emit no air pollution, as well as 60% of Canada power generations come from hydropower, which is the cleanest, most efficient way of power generation. Canada is predicting to have all coal plants shut down by 2030, as they are expensive and a dirty source of energy. Shutdown of coal plants would cut as 10% of Canada's greenhouse gases. Scientists have found ways to reduce pollution created from power generation plants, but cannot completely stop it, as well as many solar farms as well as wind farms have been used across Canada and the world to generate power in a cleaner way. And procedures and requirements have been put in place by governments that power plants have to meet for their eco footprint, so they're not polluting too much, toxins or gases or all that.
Student three's time to shine. Alright, power generation used to be one of the leading causes of pollution all around the world. And since new technologies such as windmills have been introduced, power generation pollution levels have reduced greatly. Now there is less need for thermal generation stations, which created dangerous emissions. Today, 60% of Canada's power generation comes from hydropower, as Tristan already stated, and now 20% of Canada's power generation comes from fossil fuels. Fossil fuel generating stations now have cleaner ways to filter the emissions that the plant produces. Our future situation: every day more and more windmills, solar panels, hydro dams, and biofuel generating stations are being established. Companies such as OPG, which is Ontario Power Generation, have recently burned their last piece of coal in 2014. In provinces such as Saskatchewan, more and more windmills are going up every day. Ontario Power Generation Stations currently generate power which is 99% free of smog, and they are trying to make it 100%. The potential issues and ethical problems. Many of the new innovations to generate power cause more pollution during the manufacturing of these devices. The maintenance of these new technologies also creates some pollution, them having to use cranes to put up these big windmills, all the maintenance, all the oil that's inside these windmills. The shutting down of thermal generation stations around Canada has lost many jobs, and windmills can also disturb the public because of the noises they create and that they can be an eyesore.
Thanks for watching our presentation.
And that is the end of our presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. How long was it?
8:22.
I think we'll take